Hi everyone and welcome to Rage Print. This is Andy and this is episode 4 of our chopper build, and today we're going to be building Chopper's skirt. The weather's been a bit hit and miss, so I'll be building it here. So apologies for the bad camera angle or bits missing out of frame. Camera's here. Anyway, and now it's sunny. Typical. But yeah, it shouldn't take long to build this skirt, should it? 5 pieces of plastic. What could possibly go wrong? Why don't you join me and find out? So here we go. We've got the 4 pieces of the skirt and the 5th crossbar is just outshot. So we've got 1, 2, 3, and number 4. And we need the good old grub screws. The bone shape connectors. We actually need 8, not the 4 I just showed you there. There's the crossbar. And we also need some epoxy resin and EMA plasti weld. So as you can see on this print here, I had a bit of stringing. That's really easy to sort out. Just take some snips and speed up time. And just snip them all off. And it's coming on the inside anyway, so it doesn't really matter if it's not especially tidy. There we go. So that's better. Oh, just a bit. There we go. So that's fairly smooth. As I said, it doesn't have to be perfect because this is going to be on the inside of the droid and no one's going to see it. So this is what, it needs to go that way around, where the slots are. So we'll start off by putting some epoxy resin, and now switch to Gorilla Glue, which gives me 5 minutes rather than a single minute. So we mix that up, get some grub screws. And you need 12 from memory. However, as you'll soon see, I very quickly abandoned the grub screws. You'll see why in a minute. So, plasti welds. Start melting the plastic. And then dip a grub screw into the resin and then put into one of the holes. And this is the point I find out that the holes are actually quite wide, and so that unlike on the body where they were sort of being pushed in quite tight, these are just almost falling through. So those two go in, and you can see already they're kind of at an angle. And then this one goes in and falls in. So yeah, there's me going. That ain't coming back out. So now my chopper's going to have a constant rattle in it. So have a think. So I'll look to see whether just 2 will be enough with the bone connectors. And it possibly might be. Although as you can see there, the grub screws have already been pushed out of alignment just by trying to push it to there. So I'll try going the other way. And the white ones are a bit tighter. You see I'm having to screw them in. But when I come to do this third one, it starts to fall through. Yeah, it's already starting to fall through, so I pull it out before I lose it and have 2 rattling around. So I decide to abandon the grub screws and just stick it together with plasti weld. Would I lose a bit of structural support? Yes. Does it matter? Not really, because it's been attached to the body. So basically just glue the 2 pieces together and then put the bone connectors in. Obviously without the grub screws it does make it a little harder. There's now nothing to align them. I don't think it matters too much. Yeah, I should have done a bit more cleaning up on one of the pieces. Yeah, so that just slots together like that. Eventually. So we finished cleaning that up, and we'll try again with the bone connector. If it's a tight fit, it doesn't matter too much. It just means it's going to stick together better. And then we just douse it in plastic weld. And then very carefully do the other side so it doesn't move on the first side. Pop that bone connector in. And that's when you realise that your white pieces have lifted slightly. So you have to pick a side on that's going to be flat. I picked the side that's actually going to sit against the body, figuring that at least that's keep it level, and then I can just putty the bottom where my brush is now. But yeah, just the same as before, just glue put the plastic welding through the gaps. And just give it a squeeze together. And just compress again, a bit more plastic weld just to make doubly certain it's joined. I mean, remember there are no bone grub screws here. And I think we're more or less happy with that. So it's the first couple of pieces. And then it's just repeat for the other two sides. And you notice I did something really silly here. I put both bone connectors in, not thinking that, hang on, I've got to try and slot these together now. Wasn't too much of an issue because it was still wet enough that I could just push it out of the way and push it back in again. Again, just put plastic weld in through the pieces, squeeze together. Right, and now just double check that. Yeah. Now we see if it goes in a circle, and it doesn't. And right now I'm thinking, what? Out, what? Out? But these are 4 identical pieces, size pieces. This shouldn't be like this. Have I put one at an odd angle? What's gone on? I really couldn't work out. And now looking at camera, I can tell that the 2 white pieces are different sizes. And I think it actually looks like the 2 black pieces are different sizes. Yeah, these pieces aren't numbered. So I decided to break it apart while I still got a chance. Not the easiest thing in the world to do. I'm also worried I'm going to rip the bone connectors into half because they're now wet and melting. So pull everything apart, pull the bone connectors out. And then we'll try again, take 2. Are the black pieces the same size? More or less. So I decided to double check the fit again. And I thought I did this the first time around, but I guess I hadn't. I just assumed they'd all fit together. I was more concerned about making sure that that they're in the right orientation. I guess they weren't. So yeah, that fits together as a circle. So yeah, now it's try again. Luckily, there's still some plastic-weld on there. It's still slightly, I'm going to say moist. I hate the word, but it's moist. So it's already starting to melt. It just needs a bit of a kick to keep it going. And there we go. Ran out of the last one. So put the bone connector in. Put the weld around the seams. Put the other bone connector in. And make sure that the top is flat, which is now at the bottom of the screen. Yeah. And again, repeat for the other half. I'm suffering a bit here because this is where the white part is warped, so it's not flat. So you try and keep it flat, and it moves very, very slightly. Overall, it's not going to cause too many problems once it's all joined together. Don't need those anymore. Just take the ones that are sticking to my fingers away. So there we go, a circle, like it should have been the first time. So now all we do is just line these pieces up and get some more bone connectors. And just repeat again. So in this case, I'm joining both sides up before turning it over and putting the bottom half on. Yeah, I'll now flip the whole thing over, put the bone connectors on the other side. Once I'm happy it's together. So last bit of plastic weld. And then just making sure it's all semi-level at least. And then we're more or less happy with that. So now it's the bar. And I very nearly just glued the bar in straight away, and then I noticed the screw hole and think, no. In fact, there you go. That's where I realised there's a square nuts hole. So let's not make that mistake again. Don't do it yet. So, M6 square nuts. The instructions only call for 6 in total, but there are 8 holes. So, first of all, we're going to put a square nut in there. And I put in, these square nuts have a domed side, if that's the right phrase for it, a convex side. So the flat is going on the top, the convex is going on the bottom. And these are actually quite tight, so the instructions do say to hot glue them in. In this case, I didn't need to. They're staying put, unlike the other ones on the body. So just pulling the bits of flashing off, and just to make sure they stay in place, and putting some screws in. I didn't think they were going to move, but I wanted to be sure while I was moving the thing around. So, yeah, that's how tight they are. I'm to use them to push them in. And this is where I go, hang on, I've done 4. He only asked for 6. So I've got the PDF instructions in front of me and I'm rereading them going, does he mention 2 more later on? So 1, 2, 3, 4, 8. Double check I'm not going nuts, yeah. Definitely 8. I can count, thank you. So in the end I just decided to put all 8 in. I don't need them. I can just take the screws out. I'd rather have them in there and need them than need them and not have them in there. And I think is it this one? Yeah, it's this one. This one got really stuck, and I shouldn't have been using a mini file anyway. But I tried all sorts of things to start pushing it in. Just trying to find anything in my tool drawer that I could use to push it forward. And that actually broke the end of the file on that one, which is a daft idea even as I did it. It's just not quite there. Oh, I had got it all the way in. And then the last one. Let's use a board rule. There we go. So just double checking it hasn't moved, you know, from still being wet. And then we can finally glue the crossbar in. And it doesn't matter which side they're both sides are identical. There's no up and down in this case. And that's what I'm checking there, just to make sure there's no up and down. It's just a bar with a hole through it. So, lots and lots of plastic weld. I apologise for the camera that keeps going in and out of focus. This is a result of having to find a solution quickly for the bad weather to try and film in. I mean, even now we've got 70-mile-an-hour winds and rain. So I think I found a way to do it in future that's a bit better. So hopefully I won't have this problem if I have to film indoors again. Just double checking everything's okay. And we're happy with that. Done. Yes. Okay. Right. Disadvantage of working in the workshop, there's not enough room to film chopper. So here we go, the bar. And that's where the centre foot goes. So here's the body. And this is the front. So the front is facing me. And I point it out in a little bit, but you can see the slot in the front skirt, in front of the skirt on the inside, the bit where we had the string in. That needs to be at the front. So as you can see, I've taken the screws back out of the skirt, and we will need them again in a minute. Just double checking how many of each screw I need. So we're using the M6x30. These are going to go in the 6 holes, which I point out now. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. And assuming that all your prints are square, they should just very simply screw in. And surprisingly, I was expecting this one to be a bit of a pain, but actually, yeah, so make sure that's at the front, because that's where the centre foot goes in. Yeah, I was expecting it to be a pain, but actually this went pretty smoothly. Yeah, because we all know how well I do with screws and square nuts. And the last two there. Okay. And then M6 times 40. Just the two of them. And they're going to go there and there. And the extra 10 will simply to account for the side support. But other than that, they just screw in the same place in the same way as the others. That one I did have to go in an angle. That was the only one that was just very, very slightly off. But it went in fine once I got it going. But yeah, that's the skirt on. And yeah, it's still rattling. I think it's going to have a rattle all the time now. So done. So now we're just going to double check. I still need to Dremel these screws off, but just double check the bottom and see how far off we are. And a bit of putty's going to need to go there. And there to flatten it out. And around there. And a bit there. It's not too bad. And a bit there as well, and a bit there. So now I'm just going in to look for the putty. It's in there somewhere, but any sort of putty would do. Bondo, Milliput, anything like that. It's in there somewhere. There we go. So I'm using Squadron Grey. Green or white works equally just as well. And that's it. We're done. Okay, so that took a little longer than I was expecting. Hands up. I didn't check the pieces to make sure that they would all, they're all equally cut. I just assumed they were. So of course, when I started gluing the four pieces together and hit that odd shape, this isn't right. Luckily, the EMA Plastic Weld hadn't set enough for me to take it apart. Otherwise, I think I probably would have been a bit screwed and able to start all over again. But you wouldn't have seen that. You just would have seen me build it properly the second time around. Anyway, yeah. I was a little confused with the grub screws falling through. I don't know if that's just my printer not printing circles properly and the holes are too big, or I don't know. I need to talk to Mike. I might also suggest to Mike that the pieces get the skirt pieces get renumbered, so you can look at it and go 1, 2, 3, 4, and that the instructions also get updated to say which way around the skirt needs to go. The only reason I know is, and I probably mentioned this in the voiceover, is because I looked ahead on the instructions for the front caster and saw that you need a little divot at the front, and the crossbar therefore goes 90 degrees across. So yeah, a couple of things I think might need to put in the instructions. They are draft, so that's fine. That's it for the body build for the moment. The PDF does go on to talk about the doors, the servos for the utility arm, and the servos for the doors as well, and the greeblies. We're going to leave all those, and we'll come back to them once we've painted Chopper, or at least painted the body, because then we're not chipping paint or anything, or rather, let me rephrase that. We might chip some paint, but we're not going to seal up the mechanism with the paint if we painted it all together. Likewise, the greeblies are better off being painted separately than stuck on. So we'll do it that way around. Yeah, so the next step is going to be the legs and the centre foot. Haven't decided which order I'm going to do it in yet. But when I do the legs, I'll be building both legs at the same time. The centre foot I build, and then it'll all get attached in one go. Yeah, something to note with the legs actually is that the drives wouldn't be going in at that point. It'd just be the foot shells, and then we'll put the drives in at a later point. Yeah, so it's been a bit of an awkward one. I wasn't expecting to have to pull things apart and put it back together, but I'm just glad that the screws went in into the body fine. Hopefully next time when I film, it'll be sunny for longer than 2 minutes with no chance of heavy downpours. So you can get some better camera angles. So thank you very much for watching. I've rambled enough. I will see you again soon. Bye.